In this video, we're going to build this HStack of day views, whatever you want to call it, that has each individual day with the different weather icons. But we're going to start this video with your very first challenge. I know it's a little early, we're just getting started, but it's very similar to what we just did. So the challenge here, and just pause the video real quick, is to create this VStack that has the day of the week at the top, the icon in the middle, and then the temperature at the bottom. And like I said, just pause the video real quick because I'm going to get right into actually building it together. You can check your answer then, or if you don't want to do the challenge, we'll go ahead. But I'm going to be issuing challenges like this all throughout the course. And at the end of each app, I'm going to give you a kind of a list of things that you could do to potentially, take this app further if you want to continue your learning and continue challenging yourself. This is your last chance to pause. I'm moving on. 3, 2, 1. All right, let's go. So like I said, we're building this HStack of all these individual days. So again, back to our structure of our screen, right? We have the Z stack with the background of the color. On top of that color background, we have our overall V stack that holds, all of our items. Within that, we have our city text, and then we have our V stack that is our icon and temperature. So now we want to add an H stack down here for these days. So again, H stack. Okay, cool. But now remember, within that H stack, we're going to have 5 individual V stacks. So let's create our first one, and you'll see we'll just end up copying and pasting a lot before we refactor. We're going to refactor this, but we'll just do our V stack here. And again, remember, it's a text at the top because it's our days of the week. So let's just kind of build out the rudimentary version here first. So we'll say Tuesday, and then below that is our image, right? Because this is our SF symbol, same thing that we have up here, except, let's just copy and paste this. You'll see this happen a lot in SwiftUI actually. So we'll copy and paste that. And now our frame isn't going to be 180 by 180, right? That's huge. In fact, our frame is going to be 40 by 40 here. Now you may already be seeing how we could potentially reuse these views, right? Because it was the same thing as this image up here. However, the frame is just different. So you can imagine we could refactor this into its own view and just pass in our frame size, and then we could reuse it and resize it however we like. We may do that later, but that's something you may see as this code gets repetitive. Same thing here with our text of the temperature. Again, we're just going to copy and paste that down here. The difference here is our font. Font is not going to be 70. Here it's going to be 28. So there you go. So you can see it kind of starting to come together. However, we copied and pasted the image in the text because we'd already built that. We hadn't built our day of the week yet, so we're going to have to format this ourselves. So let's do that here. We have our font. Again, we'll do .system. Size 16, and like I said, I'm kind of hard coding .medium our fonts right now. If you want to support dynamic type, you're not going to be hard coding this, and we'll give it the .foreground color of .white. And again, back to kind of this idea of refactoring, you can see a lot of the text we use, it has the same font weight, the same foreground color, the same font. The only difference is a size of 16. So you can see how you can make a custom text view that takes in a parameter of just the size, and now you have this white medium, font size text that you can use all throughout your app where you just pass in a font size. All right, so we have our VStack here built, which is the start of our HStack. That's just one. Now what I could do is literally do that, copy and paste this 5 times. But because our file's already getting long, and to be quite honest, my font's got to be big, so it's really hard to navigate around, we're actually going to refactor this part right now. We'll refactor the rest of the file in a later video. But in order to not copy and paste this chunk 5 times, let's do that now. So one cool thing you can do here is if you command click on the VStack, you get a bunch of different options, right? Embed and all this stuff here. Let's focus on the extract subview. So it kind of helps you refactor. So we're going to hit extract subview. And now you see I get a struct down here below the content view. So this is its own standalone thing. If we wanted to, we could put this in its own file separate. We're not going to do that right now, but we could if we wanted to. And it gives it the name extracted view because it doesn't know what we want to name it. So let's call this weather day view. Now, let's look here. Remember, pretty much everything in Swift is a view. So weather day view has a variable called body, and it returns a view. Like, kind of drill that into your brain. We're going to be talking about that a lot. Now, to make this reusable, we have to pass in a couple variables. So let's just look at this weather day view by itself and see what we need. Okay, well, the day of the week needs to be passed in, right? It's not always going to be Tuesday. So let's create that variable here. Var day of week, and that's going to be a string. So now that we have that, we can replace Tuesday with day of week. And then we're going to need the system name because not every day is going to be cloudy, sunny, right? Maybe it's rainy, maybe it's windy. So we're going to have to pass in the image name. So var image name, call that a string, or it is a string, not call it a string. And instead of that, we'll pass in image name. And you're going to see how we use this, how we're going to have to pass in this information. And then we're also going to need the temperature. And that is also a string. But actually, you know what? We're going to, even though we're not going to use it like this in this app fully, let's actually make this an int. And then that way, because like if we were getting this back from an API, I don't know, maybe it comes back as a string, but most, it's probably going to be an int if you have like temperature somewhere in your database. So here we can do instead of 76 degrees, we can do string interpolation based on temperature that we pass in, right? We're going to pass in an integer, but we're going to convert it to a string here. So now we have our reusable weather day view. So now when I create a weather day view, I have to pass in day of the week, I have to pass in image name, and I have to pass in temperature. So let's go ahead and make 5 weather day views up here on extracted view. So we'll do weather day view. It's going to take in, as you can see, I'm going to get that autocomplete back, day of week, image name, and temperature. So again, day of week, we'll start off with Tuesday for this one, image string. For now, let's just do the same that we have up here, the cloud, sun, fill. We'll go back and like make this some variety with temperatures, but we're just kind of testing this and getting our, the structure of our view in place. And like I said, sometimes the parameters can get long. I'd like to put return there. Now, if your parameters are getting like 4, 5, 6, 7 things, you can refactor that parameter it takes or all the properties it takes into its own, object that you can create elsewhere and just pass in the one object. So there's a little bit of a balancing act here. Usually 3 or 4 parameters I start to feel weird about. Anything over 4, I definitely want to refactor that so I'm not passing in like 10 different things. That's just personal code style preference. You don't necessarily have to do that. So again, let's say the temperature is 74 that we pass in. So let's hit resume up here. Again, sometimes your preview will stop. And you can see on our VStack here, we have Tuesday and 74 degrees with the same cloud sun fill that we did. So now let's copy and paste this 5 times. And again, if we had like a data model that had our days in an array, we could actually do this HStack, by passing in an array that would parse out all that data. We don't have that currently, so we're going to kind of do it the long way here. So again, here's our HStack with our 5 weather day views. Now, like I said, we just got the initial structure, but it's not quite right. It feels cramped up against the 76 degrees. So in between our VStack here, which is our main kind of image that you see here, we can put a spacer to push that down. And remember, spacer is going to push it all the way to the bottom. So we're going to do something here, right? So, well, it pushed it down. It didn't push it all the way down to the bottom because I forgot we have another spacer down here, right? So you can see the spacer is filling up the bottom and the spacer here is above that horizontal HStack, right? So you can see it kind of puts it in the middle. So that's the power of spacers, kind of like evening things out. The other thing here is you kind of notice they're kind of cramped together, maybe. So just like VStack had the spacer or spacing parameter here, so does an HStack. I don't know, let's just play around. Again, this is how I come up with these numbers. Let's try 10. There you go, spread it out to 10. Man, that's a little, let's try 20. Oh, not 200. Let's see, 200 is a bit much. Okay, 20 looks about right. All right, so we're getting there. It's not quite perfect, but you can start to see it take shape. Before we mess with it too much, let's kind of get our individual data in there. So let's keep Tuesday the same, because right, Monday and Tuesday are probably gonna be similar. Let's start changing our days of the week. So Wednesday, we'll do this kind of like one property at a time here. Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday, right? So there's our days of the week going across the top. Now let's change our icons, right? We don't want it always to have the same weather. Like let's look at some different weather. And for that, let's go back to SF symbols. So here we are in SF symbols, and you can start to see, and feel free to pick any weather you want. You don't have to pick exactly what I pick. I'm gonna go with sun.maxfill, Command-Shift-C to copy that. And we'll go back to Xcode here, and I'm gonna paste that here, and you'll see it update like right away. So Command-V, bam, there you go. You see Wednesday, now sunny. I'm going to make Thursday windy. I don't know what that means, so let's go back to symbols. Here's wind and snow. Yeah, let's go wind and snow. It's quite drastic changes here in this climate. So Command-Shift-C to copy that. Back to Xcode, paste it here. There you go, a little snow and wind. Let's see what else we got here in SF symbols. I'm going to go with this sunset here. Here, Command-Shift-C for sunset fill. And again, pick whatever you want. You don't have to do what I do. But you can kind of see this coming together, right? There's sunset fill, and then it's going to snow on Saturday. That's what we want, just flat out snow, right? It's getting to be that time of year. Actually, you know what? Let's go. Rain's not going to. This is the tricky thing about picking your background color, is that rain blue probably won't show up. So, maybe an issue we have to deal with later. Anyway, Pick the snow, come back here to the snowflake, Command V, there you go. Now it's snowing on Saturday. Now let's change our temperatures just to kind of reflect that. It's gonna be really hot on Wednesday, let's say 88 degrees Fahrenheit for those in the US here. Thursday it's windy, it's gonna cool down to 55. Friday is going to sunset. We'll say it's 60, right? And if it's snowing on Saturday, man, it's down to like 25 degrees. Quite a drastic change. But you can see our weather app is now starting to take shape. One thing you may notice is that we picked all the way back in the beginning, right? We picked white for our array. Well, now you can see that white is starting to clash with the white of our text. It makes it kind of hard to read. We can create a custom color because I think a lighter blue would look better, right? So at the top, we go from just the normal blue, and then at the bottom, we go to just a lighter blue. So that makes the gradient more subtle. So let's talk about how you can create your own custom colors. So over here in your XC assets, just like you were dropping in an image, down at the bottom, you can hit the plus button, hit color set, and then here we color, you do any appearance, dark appearance. This is for, light mode, dark mode. Let's do any appearance because we're not going to mess with dark mode in this current app. And bring out your toolbar on the right if it's gone. And here you can pick, your color gamut. You can pick whatever color you want here. So we're going to try to get a light blue. And I'm not going to have like an exact, value here. You can just see it changing colors up there and pick what you want. So we're going to go like very subtle light blue, and maybe a little more. We can test this out and see it. So, but the key here is when you click on color, you want to name it, right? So we'll say light blue, right? You can name it whatever you want. And usually in an app, you're going to have a lot of custom colors typically. So what I like to do is down here, hit plus, folder, create a folder called colors, change that, colors, and drag light blue into colors. That's all we're going to make for this one, but it's a good habit to get into. So back in our content view, now we have a color called light blue. Let's get rid of this side panel. We need the screen real estate. So instead of color here passing in .white, we can do color and then initialize that. And you see we can initialize that with a name. And here we're going to name it light blue, whatever you named your color, right? And let's do a Command B to get this to run, because right now it looked like it put a gray down there. Oh, I got to hit resume on my preview. That's going to get you a lot. There you go. Now it's like a more subtle light blue. You can see it go from dark blue to light blue. Almost has like a teal feel to it. But our white colors stand out a little more. Maybe not much, but a little more. Now, if you look at our design, our HStack is not way down there, right? We got to have room for a button because we're going to be changing to day to night mode later. So instead of a spacer in between our HStack and our big weather temperature, let's delete that spacer and see what happens. So we're going to delete that. Bam, okay, it pushed it up. So it's a little cramped, obviously, right? It's cramped right up on there. But what we can do is we can put a padding bottom on our VStack here that has our huge icon and huge temperature, right? That would be this VStack right here. So we can do .padding and pass in specifically on the bottom, .bottom, and comma, we can give it a value. Again, this is where you just kind of dial it in. Say 40. Yeah, that looks about right. I mean, I literally just pulled that out of my butt, but yeah, that looks about right. And then you got the bottom down there. Now, of course, if we were going really deep into this and we had to, account for all the screen sizes, super small, you got to be a little more thorough. But again, this is the intro video, baby steps, right? But now you can see it's starting to be spaced out nicely and we have room for our button, which we're going to add in the next video.